Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and in this episode, I talked to Arnis Robbins from Evie Mae's Barbecue in Wolfforth, Texas, which is near Lubbock, Texas. And I really think you're going to enjoy this. This barbecue journey that he's been on with Mallory, his wife, has been pretty phenomenal, and he goes into depth, and it's a long interview, but it's definitely well worth it. He talks about his how he began with how he grew up on a peanut farm, and then how he transitioned throughout his career and ended up doing having a landscaping business, selling that business while he was kind of on the side doing the barbecue. Talks about making his own pits. It's super detailed. He goes through the whole process and how they had their trailer, and the trailer was in Arizona, and I don't want to spoil anything, but you're really going to enjoy it. And he at the very end he gets very heartfelt and talks about how barbecue has been a gift to him, and you could see the passion, you could see the thought that goes into what he does and what they both do, and he has a lot of passion for barbecue and the life that he's gained because of barbecue. Please enjoy this one, and if you do like what you see, please subscribe. I'll be adding at least a new video every week, a new interview with a barbecue personality or a chef. Thanks so much. That's awesome. How are things going?
Good. We've Today's kind of atypical Tuesday for us. We've got a group of travel writers coming in for lunch, so we're doing a small catering in house today. So
Oh, that's kind of cool.
yeah, typically we'd come in on Tuesdays and get fires going and start cooking between 11 and 12 for tomorrow. So we've got a little bitty cook going right now, and then we'll get geared up here in the next hour or so for tomorrow.
Oh, that's awesome. What's a usual day for you?
A typical Tuesday
A typical
or a
like Thursday.
business day. Um, crazy busy. We'll start cooking on Tuesday for Wednesday lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Our week typically ramps up. Thursday's a little bit busier than Wednesday. Fridays are typically really good days for us, and then Saturdays obviously are kind of our bread and butter. But we in the last year, I've gone from basically doing everything myself as far as the cooking portion of the operation goes, to having a group of three guys that all cook in shifts. And then we've got a guy that trims, a guy that seasons, a guy that
Wow.
cuts and serves, and another gal that cuts and serves. So I have been able to distance myself a little bit from daily operations, which is nice because it gives me an opportunity to kind of get back on top of quality control and process, and take some of that stress away from the people that are more hands-on now. So there's definitely been benefit to that as we've scaled the way that we have.
That's crazy. Well, what's your background? Is it a restaurant
I
background?
No, not at all. I grew up on a peanut farm in eastern New Mexico,
Oh, wow.
and that was a fantastic childhood, and have great memories of growing up on the farm.
My dad actually grew up on a small peanut farm in Georgia, I think it was, and
That's
he
awesome.
told me a story. Do you guys have to dry out the peas? Is that what you?
Yeah. So the harvesting process is two stages. You've got to invert the plant and get the peanuts themselves above ground surface and let them dry for a few days, and then come back with a threshing machine and harvest those from the dried out vines. But
So
yeah, it
interesting.
was awesome. I mean, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
And
I think a lot of the qualities that I have now, and even just kind of the problem solving mentality and ingenuity, comes from growing up on a farm. We couldn't always buy what we needed. It wasn't being manufactured. So it seems like everything needed modified or fixed or changed, or for whatever reason, we were always trying to make things better and improve on
so
process
it
and
made
product.
you handier than probably most
That's
people,
right. Yeah. So
and
that's
resourceful.
I've got a farming welding background. So
Oh,
um, I kind of backed into barbecue by I built a smoker before I knew how to cook on it. And that was kind of, I won't jump too far ahead, but we'll get to that part.
okay.
But so I grew up on the farm, went to school in Bryan College Station for a year and a half,
Okay.
and decided school wasn't really my thing, and went back home and worked on the farm for about a year and a half, and I I had thought early on that landscaping was something that I wanted to do. Um, Instant gratification, work with your hands. I mean, be able to look back at the end of the day and see accomplishment.
Oh, that's so
Um,
nice. That's so important.
yeah, and it kind of fit, with agriculture a little bit, as far as plant growth and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I found a landscape design school in Tucson, Arizona,
Okay.
and I could not find a trade school. That's what I was looking for. Was kind of a landscape construction trade school. But there was this school in Tucson that had a 2-year design program, and I went out and visited with the director there, and it looked like it would give me that opportunity to go learn a lot, have a lot of hands-on experience, and also get involved with the landscape construction industry there. That was in '06. And so right before the bubble burst, I mean, things were just out of control. So went out there, went to school, went to work for a company, really excelled, did well, enjoyed what I was doing. And we, the school went belly up like 18 months into
Oh,
the 2-year program.
oh,
I'm
terrible.
gonna,
That's fine.
how's lighting there? I'm gonna step out real quick.
This is good. This lighting's here.
Okay, the pit room's starting to fill up with
I like this better.
people. So
Anyways, this is actually what
it's
because then
better.
people, yeah, well, then people get a chance to gotta see.
Um, so
It went up belly
I
up.
yeah, so the school went defunct, and luckily I was kind of plugged in the industry there and had a good job, and I had learned 18 months worth of classwork in the 2-year program. So I just went to work full time at that point, and I needed 4 years of practical hands-on experience to be able to apply for contractor's license in the state of Arizona. So I worked those years, and then got my contractor's license and started a landscaping business. Um,
This
and
is in
that
Tucson.
was this is in Tucson.
Okay.
So that all went really well. I started the business in 2010, and in 2014, we had a trailer and generator welder stolen from our landscaping yard. So as opposed to going back with that same setup, I I bought a smaller welder and a smaller generator that I could use in tandem if needed, but I could also keep them in my house as opposed to having to keep them, at our storage yard. So shortly after that, then I felt like I had the opportunity to take on some projects and tinker around in the backyard, and I found a propane tank and decided that I was going to build a smoker.
Okay.
I had been cooking with an electric smoker for a couple of years prior to that,
Okay.
and I wasn't trying to achieve greatness. It was just it was fun, You
It was useful.
yeah, it was useful and it was practical, and it worked our lives for our lifestyle, and gave me kind of a feeling of accomplishment to be able to cook a rack of ribs at home, and so I wasn't completely new to barbecue at the time that I decided to build a smoker, but I'd never managed a fire. I'd never cooked on live fire. So this propane tank came up on Craigslist, and I can't remember how much I paid for it. It wasn't much, $200 or so. And
How do you transport that?
I had to borrow a trailer from my neighbor, and went and picked up this propane tank. I think it was in Wilcox, Arizona, where I had to go pick it up.
Okay.
So I went and picked it up and brought it home, and I started doing research then on building a smoker, and I came across a cross-section diagram of a reverse flow smoker, and just looking at that, I felt like the design seemed much more manageable than a traditional offset smoker. So I kind of started looking more in that direction as far as how to turn the tank that I had into a reverse flow smoker.
Okay.
So I felt like I had gathered enough information and kind of just dove in. And I'm when I start projects, I have a hard time stopping. I want to work, as many hours as I can and just knock it out and be done with it. Not because I get tired of it, because I'm just so into it. I don't want to stop what I'm doing.
You're passionate about it, or if you are passionate about it.
So got busy on that. We had Evelyn. our daughter was born in 2013, so she was an infant at this time, and the wife wasn't too happy about me spending every extra minute that I had building a smoker in our side yard. But it was fun. It was something to do, and I got it done, I think, in about 3 or 4 weeks, and I couldn't wait to fire it up and cook on it. So I think the day that I finished it, we cooked 8 chicken on it. It was a 300-gallon smoker, and we cooked a single chicken on it for dinner. But it was awesome. I mean, there's not a lot more rewarding feeling than the first cook on a smoker that you've built.
I can't
The
even
first
imagine. It
fire
sounds
in a
great.
smoker, even the seasoning process, just kind of getting a feel for how it's going to run and how it's going to draft and the draw and all that. It's just it's awesome. Like that's
so cool.
Every one that I've built, that's a real fun afternoon whenever you have an opportunity to build a fire and watch it run.
So how did you parlay that into? Did you go to Texas? Because you were in Texas.
So I built this smoker, and at the time I thought I really didn't have a purpose for it other than I wanted to build it, and it was a project. So once I got it done, almost every weekend I was looking for an excuse to fire it up. So I volunteered to cook for a neighbor's birthday. They supplied all the meat, and I cooked it, and that went over well. And one of my buddies was having a bachelor weekend in Albuquerque, and I volunteered to take it to Albuquerque, and we were going to buy a whole hog and cook a couple of briskets, and that was going to be that day's event, is just hang out and cook a whole hog. And I'd never done that before. I'd never even seen it done before. But you've got nothing to lose at that point, and we were just looking for an opportunity to hang out and fellowship. I mean, that's what it is. Barbecue is just hanging out and fellowship. So I go to Albuquerque, and we cooked this pig, and it was, I think, a 55 or 60 pound whole hog, so it wasn't much of a pig, and a couple of briskets, and it took all stinking day. We woke up, and the sun. This is in March. The sun was shining, and it was cool. And then clouds moved in, and then it snowed for like an hour and a half, and then that burned off, and the sun came back out. I mean, it was just, looking back on it, I mean, it was nuts. But I think it took about 15 hours to cook that pig, and we ate at 9:30 or 10 o'clock that night. And again, I mean, everybody thought it was awesome.
No, that's a great day. That's a great day.
I don't know how good it was, but it was well worth the time and energy spent to do it.
And the effort makes it worth that, I think. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And again, to experience that with lifelong friends, just having a good time and kind of having a reunion was something special. So on the way home from that is whenever I really started thinking, man, like this is something I really, really enjoy. I don't necessarily know that I felt like I had a particular knack for it, but I felt like I really enjoyed it, and the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it, as opposed to the more I did it, the more burnout or tired of it I got. So on that drive home from Albuquerque, I called several people and kind of just told them about the experience and that I just was starting to really enjoy barbecuing. And I got home and started looking around Craigslist to try to find a food truck or food trailer. Well, I looked at the health department requirements for what it would take to do roadside vending there in Tucson. And it was fairly lax, and it was really lax when it came to barbecue, because there was no basis for smokers or anything like that. So I made contact with a health inspector and kind of told her what I was thinking, and I didn't know if she would require any kind of NSF certification or anything like that for the actual cooker, but she didn't know enough about it to know any different. So it was basically all she wanted was I would obviously need my 3-basin sink and a hand wash station, and that was it. So I found a trailer that had already been licensed with the health department there in Tucson, and it was actually currently permitted. So all I had to do, if I could buy the trailer, was file for a change of name and ownership and have an inspection and be ready to go. So um, that was, I think I bought that trailer a couple weeks after I got back from Albuquerque.
Oh wow,
And
that's
yeah,
fast.
I mean, and that's
That's
the
how you
thing.
do things.
But it was, I mean, this trailer was, I mean, it was an epic piece of garbage. Like, it was just the bare minimum that I needed to take my hobby just one step further.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to, I felt like I was kind of onto something, and I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to explore it, to see if that, if that was something that I really wanted to continue to pursue.
Yeah.
So, got this food trailer, and we decided that because I did have a full-time job running a landscaping business,
Yeah.
that we would just try one day a week. And we were going to do it out near our house, which was kind of outside of Tucson proper, but it was a bedroom community, and so there was a lot of traffic in the mornings and a lot of traffic in the evening. So we go out on our first Thursday, and I went out, I think about 10 o'clock the night before. I prepped 2 or 3 briskets, and we
That's okay.
So prepped these briskets the night before, and then set my alarm for 1 o'clock, and went back down in the middle of the night, started cooking, and I think one of the briskets may have been ready by like 1 o'clock, and then I had a brisket that didn't come off till like 8:30 that night. But that morning that we set up, whenever the sun was coming up, I was absolutely terrified, scared out of my mind. I just, everything kind of hit at once. It was emotionally draining. I'd been up all night. I was thinking about, all the money that I had kind of dumped into this stupid little venture at the time. And I was really starting to freak out. And I wanted to just kind of close the doors and go home before I ever even got started. That's how worried I was about it.
Uh-huh.
But my wife came down that morning and kind of calmed my nerves, and we decided we'd at least see it through the day and just see how it went. And we hadn't done any kind of advertisement.
Yeah, how do people know about you?
Yeah, we put a sign up by the road and hooked some balloons on it. And it was a really slow but kind of steady day of a lot of people, stopping by just out of curiosity and getting a pound of brisket or getting a sandwich. Just, they had stopped and kind of wanted to check it out. So we got through that day all right, and decided that we'd do it again the next week. And I decided there were some changes that I needed to make.
It's kind of cool. We're getting a little tour.
Yeah, you are. You're getting an over-the-shoulder tour.
Yeah.
This is our new expanded dining space that we just opened about a month ago. Is where we're at now. So.
Oh, that's great.
So we decided to set up shop again the next week, and
so you're just going to be open like one day a week kind of thing, or
and it wasn't. Roadside vending at the time was an opportunity for me to, work on the craft more than make any money, and it was nice. It was nice to be able to do that in a geographical location that didn't know any better, that didn't have a super high standard for barbecue or Texas barbecue for that matter.
For sure.
So I'm trying to think. We didn't document near as much stuff as I wish we would. I mean, had we known this was the direction
that's true. Yeah.
that was going to take us in, we would have done a lot better job, taking pictures and keeping notes and kind of cherishing those funny little,
that nostalgia that you do. Yeah.
But I mean, everything at the time, every week there was something that was like, okay, next week I think if I do this, the product will be better. The product will be done quicker. The process will be better. Every week there were significant changes that I was able to make. Again, with a customer base that was pretty easy to please. We somewhere in there we switched from Thursdays to Fridays
Okay.
for our daily service, and that was big. We actually our dinners became fairly significant. We didn't have much lunch crowd, but come 4:30 or 5 o'clock, we would get pretty good lines. Um, and
And what were you serving at the time?
we from day one we were serving brisket, pulled pork, St. Louis trim spare ribs, um, chicken. We did chicken quarters out there. We've never done chicken quarters here in the restaurant.
Okay.
We and I always did beef ribs. I was able to get plate beef ribs from Sam's out there,
Okay.
and that was one of my personal favorite barbecue items. So I wanted to have those in the trailer. So we would cook like a rack of those. So we'd have three bones,
Hey.
sell. I think the most we ever cooked out there, whenever we did start getting busy, was maybe 8 briskets. I could be way off on that. It could have been closer to 5, but I mean, it was definitely like single digits. But it was awesome. I mean, again, like the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it, as opposed to, getting burnt out or thinking it was just too much work. Somewhere in there, we had our little girl who was 6 to 8 months old whenever we were really kind of getting into the barbecue thing. And we were living 600 miles away from any of our closest relatives. And that was really taking a toll on us between the landscaping business and trying to pursue this barbecue thing and having a kid now.
Yeah.
So we started thinking seriously about, how could we, or did we want to try to relocate to be closer to family? And if we did, what were we going to do? My parents had sold the farm while I was in Tucson, so that wasn't an option to go back and work on the farm. And they had relocated to Lubbock.
Okay, that's how it happened.
Yeah, they had relocated to Lubbock and gotten into rental houses. So our plan was to come back and kind of help manage their rental properties, manage and maintain those for them, and continue doing barbecue
on the side.
Yeah, whatever capacity we could afford. So we were really fortunate to be able to sell the landscaping business. We had a 4-year history there of service. So there was a bigger company in town that kind of just absorbed us and gave us an opportunity.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get a lot for it, but we got enough to have a clean slate and start over. So we came to Lubbock in December of 2014, and whenever the landscaping deal looked like it was going to go through, I had ordered a new trailer from a dealership in Tennessee. So we got it and got to. I actually went to New Mexico then in December so I could build a smoker. My parents still had their home place there and a shop that I could utilize to get a smoker built for the trailer. So I had committed to catering a wedding in January of 2015, and so I needed to get a smoker built to use the trailer for that wedding. So got a smoker built, got the trailer put together. Literally like the day before the catering, and then we started trying to figure out how to get to Lubbock and what we were going to do as far as setting up. We had talked to the city, months earlier, and there was an ordinance that didn't allow food trucks to set up in Lubbock unless it was in an industrial zone. So it was just a very outdated ordinance, but they were actively trying to get that corrected so that they could draw food trucks into Lubbock. But it was going to be, they told us April or May of 2014 before we'd be able to do that. So we found a staging storage shop out in Wolfforth that our initial intent was to store the trailer there, have some dry storage. It was a storage unit front and back. So the front had kind of been modified to be a little storefront for the previous company that was there. So whenever we went and looked at it, I thought, oh, this is great. We can park the trailer in the back. If we had, potential catering clients, we can meet with them up front and have a decent little place. And
like the sun was right on your face.
it kind of was. Well, that's no better.
That's right where you are right there. But if you're standing, that's not good. Perfect. That's perfect.
Okay. So we were ready to roll and didn't have a place to go in Lubbock. And so we decided we'd just set up in front of that storage unit in Wolfforth.
Okay.
And again, we didn't know a whole lot of people here. We didn't do anything as far as advertising that we were going to be opening, but we just set a date and opened up. And it really didn't compare at all to our Tucson opening. We had the equipment that we had here was far and away better than what we ever operated with there. Mallory was all in, here, and we had family here that could help and be of support. So it was smooth. Was
it busy from the get-go?
The first day, I think, exceeded any expectations that we had, but it wasn't busy. I don't even know what we cooked. We may have cooked 4 or 5 briskets, a couple of pork shoulders, probably 6 racks of ribs, and we were open all day long. And I'm sure that we had some leftovers, but it was a start. And I felt like the food quality, the product that we had served to these, customers that came out the very first day that we were open, I felt confident that it was good enough that they would come back.
And was it called Evie Mae at the time?
It was, yeah. It's always been called Evie Mae. So that name came about when we were going to set up in Tucson, and we were trying to think of a name that sounded barbecue-like. And one of our neighbors suggested Evie Mae because we call Evelyn, her middle name is May, so we call her Evie.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's named after her, and that was the name from the very beginning.
So when do you feel like you started to get on the map with like barbecue type people, like people that were passionate, like the crazy barbecue people like me?
So I think our first day that we were open was February 16th of 15. I'm sorry, and we were cruising along and kind of plateaued at a point that was not viable. We had a ton of regular customers, but just because of where we were at, it was hard to draw new customers. And I've got a weird thing about advertising. Like, I believe it's got its place, but at the same time, like, I don't feel comfortable, paying for somebody to tell somebody that something's good whenever that it doesn't make sense to me. Like, the best advertisement is word of mouth.
The word of mouth, of course, yeah.
Especially in the food industry.
Yeah.
So I was very anti marketing and advertising at the time, but we were seriously starting to get worried about being able to continue doing barbecue, and we had gotten comfortable operating out of our little place there in Wolfforth where we could plug into power. We had a big refrigerator on site. We had a restroom. And the thought of actually being mobile and trying to set up in Lubbock was daunting. Also, I was cooking all night long. So you think about doing that in Lubbock, literally on the side of the road, as opposed to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So we were starting to try to figure out what we needed to do next to try to generate more sales. And Daniel Vaughn showed up. He showed up May 8th, I think. Okay. So we started in February. He shows up second week of May.
2015.
And 2015. Now, at the time, the business had a Facebook page that it was not very well maintained. We weren't on Twitter. We weren't on Instagram. Had we been more involved, on social media, we would have known that he was in the area, because he was on one of those trips, where he tries to hit 15 or 20 places
Mm-hmm.
that have popped up since he was in that area last. So after he came that day, we had several people like barrel in off the highway that had seen him tweet from our place.
Oh, that's
So
crazy.
it was only after that then we got on and saw his Twitter feed and like saw where he'd flown into Amarillo and he had hit places there and then gone to Dalhart and he'd been in Farwell, Texas early that morning, and then he was headed to Lubbock. So yeah, we would have known, but I'm glad I didn't know that he was coming.
Did you even see him?
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, he was the first customer, because we would open at 10, and I think he came at like 10:30.
Okay.
And he was the first customer of the day, and the only customer that we had for like he was here for like an hour and a half, and we didn't have another customer the whole time. And I recognized him.
Okay.
So it would have been one thing for me to like know 24 hours in advance that he might show up, and for me to have 24 hours to be stressing out about that. But for him to just show up, that was like, holy smokes, like Daniel Vaughn's here. I just saw you on the
That's
food.
super cool.
Yeah. So we fed him, and the trailer would sit out front, and then we had a little dining room set up in the front of that storage unit with picnic tables. So he was able to go inside and eat. He had come with a guest also. So we served him and let him go and tried to give him some space and not be too weird about it. And then Mallory went in to check on him. And these food writers and critics are like really tight-lipped, especially because
someone like that.
they don't want to tip their hand, good or bad. So he was very complimentary, but at the same time, like pretty flat. So he left, and Mallory and I sat around that afternoon thinking like this could be it. Like if he writes a review on us, it's either going to be good and it could really set things off, or it's going to be mediocre to poor, and like we're done.
Yeah.
So, and at the time, a lot of times he would post a review of a place several months after he visited. So we had no reason to think that it was going to be, the next day or anything. But we were optimistic, and like I said, all that happened. Like he came the day after I had really like kind of been freaking out about, it seemed like we had a lot of bills due, and you feel like you work so hard and you do the best you can. Like there should be a payoff for that. And we were at that point, like, what more can we do? And then he showed up, and we were getting ready to open. He came on a Thursday. We were getting ready to open on Friday the next day. And, I went to tmbbq.com, and he had just posted a review for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the next day. So in his
That's
review
unheard of.
that he wrote, he even said, like, I don't know if he just got the sense that we were, like in freak out mode or struggling or what, but I mean, he referenced the fact that like this is a place that I felt like I needed to get this out there as soon as possible. And man, like you wouldn't believe how long of an arm his stretch is, like to here in West Texas. I mean, it was literally hours later, whenever after that review came out, that people started coming out from Lubbock. People that had no idea that we had been here for
That's
several
fantastic.
months prior. They were just driving out from Lubbock to check it out. And literally the rest is history. Like we went from hoping people would show up to all of a sudden like trying to figure out how can we meet the demand of the folks that are coming out here.
And when did you switch to the location you're at right now, like to the indoor?
So in September of 15, we were going into the fall. We'd had a really busy summer, and we met with our landlord, and he owned a piece of ground. It's about a half a mile down the road from where our original storage unit was. And he had thrown it out before that, like he wanted to build on this lot, but he didn't he had never felt like the right people had come along with the right business to want to build on it. So he had kicked it around. He told us that, and about September of that year, we felt like, man, we've got something here. We've outgrown the trailer. We'd outgrown any efficiencies that you might have in a trailer, and we had 5 people working in there.
Yeah, it gets tight.
We were cooking as much as we could. I mean, we had stuff stacked on top of other stuff in the smoker, just trying to do all that we could. And we felt pretty confident at that point that we were in it, so we might as well go as
full
hard
force
and as fast as we can. Yeah. So we met with the landlord and came up with a kind of a preliminary agreement. And Mallory and I hired an architect and designed the building, and they poured this concrete in December. I think December 20 or January 22nd or so of 2016, and we moved in the end of April of 16. Yeah. So started in the trailer February 15, moved in the restaurant April of 16, and then we just doubled our seating capacity and built a secondary kitchen for all of our baking and things here in October of 17.
So what's on your menu now? That's like, so because it's a little different, right? You have additional items, right? Sausage.
Well, our meats are very traditional. We've got brisket, pork ribs, plate ribs, turkey breast, pulled pork, and then we started making sausage in house in December of this year. So we do we just call it our standard German sausage, and then we do a green chili and a green chili cheese sausage.
Oh, nice! So nice.
So that's been cool to bring in house. But again, with that, then that brought on we needed space for that. So we built a new cold room out back of the restaurant for sausage production and trimming and all that. So it's been crazy because being in it, you don't necessarily realize that it's only been 2.5, 3 years, because it feels like we've been doing it forever.
No, I can imagine. Yeah.
But I mean, we're finally kind of at a point right now where we're as big as we need to be. We're as big as we ever would feel comfortable being, as far as square footage and kitchen space and dining space and prep space and cooler space and pit room space. We've added about 120% cooking capacity from the day that we opened to where we are now.
Wow.
And it finally feels like, okay, we're at a point where we need to tighten things up where we're at this quantity level and just operate.
Damn.
So that's kind of nice. Like, to see the light at the end of the expansion tunnel is nice, because there hasn't been a week since we started since Daniel Vaughn showed up, that I have been able to just focus on this business, because we've always been trying to grow and expand or build another smoker or whatever.
What was it like when you found out you were top 10? Because did that change even the trajectory?
That was so, man, that 5 month was really longer than that. As it was a 6-month process. It was right after Barbecue Fest last year that they announced that they had gotten their team together to go out and find top 50. And so we didn't know when they were coming. We didn't know who would be coming. But at the same, so I mean, every day we try to do our best, but for that span of time, it was like, okay, this is really everything that we do has to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And Daniel Vaughn came, I think in January or February during that process, and he was very guarded. He wasn't here to hang out. He didn't want to look at the pit room or talk about expansion or the way that we'd grown. Like, he was here on a mission to,
Just
taste
to
the
eat.
food and get a feel for the experience. But I think that there had been a couple of tasters before he came then. And then I guess after he came, after the list was kind of set, then Patricia Sharp, who's the food editor
Oh
for
yeah.
Texas Monthly, went to all the top 10 joints. And I don't know, I don't remember serving her. I don't recall ever seeing her here. But yeah, we were very aware of tasters coming in, and the whole team kind of knew what was at stake. And we were, man, I was up early that day whenever they had announced that they would be releasing the list on the internet. And man, like refreshing every 5 seconds, waiting for it to pop up. So it was awesome. I mean, to be on the list was awesome,
Oh
but to
yeah.
be in the top 10 was just, it was really surreal.
And did you get a new batch of customers at the beginning?
We did. Lubbock's funny. I don't know that Lubbock is. I would venture to guess that as far as subscribers to Texas Monthly, like Lubbock is probably one of the smaller subscribing cities. Um, but being top 10, I mean, there were 3 news channels that came out and did fresh interviews.
Oh wow.
There was a newspaper that came out and did a really good interview and story. And so that drew, local interest from people that had never even heard of us before.
That's really great.
Oh, it was awesome. And then that was in May. So like after Labor Day and whenever we really got into the summer months, that Yeti Passport program just took off. I think it was way more successful of a campaign than they had expected.
I've heard that from you.
Because I mean, we were getting these people that, maybe they live in Houston or Austin or somewhere between the two, and it's nothing for them to go a couple of weekends and collect 20 stamps.
So crazy.
But at some point, they're thinking, "Oh man, like I'm gonna have to go if I want to do this. I'm gonna have to go to Wolfforth and get a stamp." So we got tons of traffic that were genuinely interested in our product and our story, and that was really cool. I know a lot of the joints have been kind of down on the passport program just because they felt like a lot of people
We're kind of
just
cheating
want
the
the
system.
stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for us, being so far out of the way, I mean, I know without a doubt that it drove a lot more people to us and yielded us a lot more exposure from regular people, from regular foodies, that for them to come out here and our position be vindicated or justified,
Yeah.
like that was really cool.
And then you're able to make them a customer for life, which is nice.
That's right. Yeah, and for whatever reason they might ever find themselves back in Lubbock, they know that there's a reputable barbecue joint out here.
How far are you guys from Lubbock? How far is it?
Well, Lubbock city limit is like a half a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
Lubbock has a loop around it, and then the loop is split with an interstate and a freeway, so you can get all the way across town pretty quickly. So from downtown or from campus, it's about a 12 or 13-minute drive to out here. But I think a lot of people, let's go to Wolfforth and eat barbecue. I mean, it's kind of a thing,
How far would you say you are from Dallas or from Austin?
Dallas, we are about 4.5 hours.
Okay.
Austin, we're 6.5.
But you can make that drive. People make that drive, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. And so people that have come out here for the passport, they'll typically do Poties down in Midland. I think it's in Midland.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll go there first, and then they'll a lot of times come to Lubbock, stay the night, come here, and then go to Amarillo and do Tyler's. Yeah, and then head back. So it's just been really cool. I mean, the summer was awesome. Just everything that came along with the list and just kind of this fresh new energy in the barbecue scene was really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Cool
And you guys went down to the Texas Monthly Barbecue Festival, right?
We did. That was last weekend that we did the Texas Monthly Barbecue Festival in Austin. And last year we had been invited to come as the newcomer of the year. So this year it was nice to go and kind of know what to expect and feel like like we had experienced that before, and it was a lot more enjoyable. It was a lot more fun to just be there and be able to meet a lot of these other guys that are also new to the list, and it's a cool little community. I mean,
It's the best. I love
those
it.
people are so stinking friendly and approachable, and you don't feel like people are trying to guard secrets or distance themselves or feel threatened by any of these new. Because there's so many of us new guys like that have been in the business for 2 or 3 years that you think that there might be a little animosity there, but there isn't. So
when you have someone like Snows that's been there for forever. Or Louis Miller.
Yeah, 15 years. So it's just been really, really cool to be able to be involved in those things and to get to know these people, and it's just a pretty cool little network.
Did you run into Ray from Ray's Barbecue? Did you, from Los Angeles?
Nathan.
Nathan did. Yeah. He mentioned Nathan. Okay.
Yeah. He was telling me about that.
Okay, because he said to say hi. Talked to him yesterday, and he said to say hi to Nathan, and I thought perhaps
I'll let Nathan know.
Okay, cool. Yeah, please let Nathan know. But what a great story. It's so interesting, and I know a lot of people probably don't know your story, so I'm so glad you shared that with me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's I think it's a lot more interesting to other people than it is to us. To us, it's kind of freaks me out, like to think about it. Where we came from, and there were a lot of decisions I made along the way that it could have blown up in my face and really, left us high and dry. But we've been super fortunate, and we know that.
What if something happened and you were closed the day that Daniel came that first day?
Right. Yeah. Or what if the barbecue wouldn't have been good whenever the
smoker had an issue, and
yeah, right. So it's just there's so many things along the way that you look back on and think, man, how in the world were we so lucky that that's how that played out, that in that particular moment? Like how I could probably name 20 or 30 like fairly important turning points along the way that everything just worked. Everything was just lined up the way that it needed to be.
So I guess it's like sort of, if you believe in that stuff, it's meant to be that it worked out.
Yeah, well, and kind of joking, but serious too. It's like it feels really good to feel like I found my calling. I found my gift, and I enjoyed landscaping, and I enjoyed everything that brought us, and I enjoyed my years in Tucson. But man, like I can't imagine now doing anything else.
That's killer. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much for the time, and I hope today goes well. It sounds like that should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be good. This is like I said, it's a tourism group here in town that brings in these travel writers, and they've done this several times. About every 6 months, they'll bring in a group. So it's cool to be able to give them some local cuisine and give them a brief backstory. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Again, that's like a super cool opportunity that we have that
you never would have had that before with landscaping.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares about mowing grass.
Someday.
So.
I saw, I think on Shark Tank they had like a robot that does it now, almost like the kind that like a Roomba. Yeah, Roomba, but
I can't believe that hasn't like taken over yet.
I think it was like $3,500. It was like really expensive, and it puts itself to bed at night. It was weird.
That's awesome, though.
Well, I'll have to stop at. Next time I'm in Texas, I will definitely.
Well, kind of back to that point. I think, barbecue is one of those things. It's so analog. Like barbecue can never be autonomous. If the way that people appreciate it the most can never be taken over. So, and every day is a new challenge, and that's what I tell the guys. That Nathan has been here a little over a year, and then I've got 2 more guys that have been here since last spring, and you can't ever get comfortable. Like every day is different, conditions are different, wood is different, meat is different.
That's true.
And the minute you think that you've got like a bulletproof process and system down where you can set a timer or watch your temps and go do something else for an hour, like it just blows up in your face. So that's something that's really cool about barbecue is you can't fake it.
That's awesome. And you can't just like set it and go. It's just
Yeah.
you have to play on your feet every day, which is
Yeah.
kind of exciting. And it's also it turns out to, but it's also interesting because you get a chance to see a lot of different customers every day, and you get to interact with a lot of people, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, very rarely do you have like a customer coming in on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday to eat barbecue that's in a bad mood. Like everybody's here to have a good time. They have a good meal, hang out with friends. So it's a pretty cool business to be in.
That is awesome. Well, thank you again, and good luck with everything. Good luck with the rest of your week, and I'll see you in about a month.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
All right, you take care.
Have a good day, man.
And thanks for the little tour too. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you can glean some good footage from that.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, it was awesome.
All right,
Thanks so
man.
much. All right, take care.
Thanks, Kevin.